If you're brand new to investing, choosing the right investment app can feel almost as confusing as the actual investment. One app looks simple, another app has more charts, another app talks about retirement, another app talks about crypto, another app talks about banking, rewards, fractional shares, automatic investing, and a lot of other features that may or may not matter when you're just getting started. So in this video, I'm going to compare 5 popular investing apps for beginners: SoFi, Robinhood, Fidelity, Stash, and Webull. I'm not going to compare every tiny little feature that only advanced traders care about. I'm going to compare the things that most people care about first: how easy the app is to understand, whether you can buy fractional shares, what the fees look like, whether it has retirement accounts, whether it has automatic investing, whether it has research tools, and what type of investor each app is best for. This is not financial advice, and this is not a recommendation to use any specific app. The goal is simple. By the end of this video, you should have a better idea of which investing app might fit the way you actually want to invest. The investment app itself doesn't make you rich. The app is just a tool. What matters more is what you buy, how consistent you are, what fees you pay, how much risk you take, and whether your investing plan actually makes sense. But the app still matters because the wrong app can push you towards the wrong behavior. Some apps make long-term investing feel simple. Some apps make trading feel exciting. Some apps are better for retirement. Some apps are better for learning. Some apps are better for active traders who want charts, options, crypto, and more advanced tools. For someone getting started, the best investing app is not always the one with the most features. The best investing app is usually the one that helps you start safely, understand what you're buying, avoid unnecessary fees, and stay consistent. For each app, I'm going to look at 7 different categories. Number 1, simplicity. Is the app easy to understand? Number 2, fractional shares. Can you start with a small dollar amount instead of buying a full share? Number 3, fees. Are there commissions, subscriptions, account fees, or other costs you should notice? Number 4, investment choices. Can you buy stocks, ETFs, mutual funds, crypto, options, or retirement investments? Number 5, retirement accounts. Does the app support IRAs for long-term investing? Number 6, education and research. Does the app help you understand what you're doing? Number 7, best fit. What type of investor is this app probably best for? Features can change over time, so always check the current app before opening an account or moving money. First, let's talk about SoFi. SoFi isn't just an investing app. SoFi is more of an all-in-one financial app. It has investing, banking, loans, credit cards, financial tools, and other money features all in one brand. For some people, that can be a big plus. If you like the idea of having banking and investing in the same general ecosystem, then SoFi may feel organized and convenient to you. SoFi Invest offers self-directing investing when you pick your own investments. It also offers robo-investing, where a managed portfolio is built for you based on your goals and risk profile. That matters because not every new investor wants to pick individual stocks. Some people just want to say, here's my goal, here's my risk level, help me build a portfolio. SoFi can be appealing for that type of person. One feature people may like about SoFi is fractional shares. Fractional shares let you invest a small dollar amount instead of needing enough money to buy a full share. That's important because many popular stocks can cost more than someone wants to put into one company. With fractional shares, you can start small, then learn without feeling like you need hundreds or thousands of dollars just to begin. SoFi also gives access to stocks, ETFs, options, IRAs, and automated investing. For someone that wants one app that can grow with them, that can be useful. You could start with basic investing, learn about ETFs, later look at retirement accounts, and possibly use more tools as you understand more. But you should be careful with features like options. Just because an app gives you access to something doesn't mean you need to use it. Options can be risky and complicated, and you don't need options to start investing. SoFi may be best for someone who wants an all-in-one financial app. If you want investing, banking, money tracking, and beginner-friendly financial tools in one place, SoFi is worth looking at. SoFi may also be a good fit for someone who likes the idea of automated investing. The possible downside is that because SoFi has so many financial products, it may not feel as focused as a traditional brokerage. Some people like having everything in one app. Other people prefer having their brokerage separate from banking, loans, and other financial products. SoFi is not automatically the best app for everyone, but for someone who wants convenience and a clean all-in-one setup, SoFi is one of the stronger options. Next is Robinhood. Robinhood's probably one of the most recognizable investment apps for people who are new to the stock market. A lot of people hear about investing for the first time through Robinhood. The biggest strength of Robinhood is simplicity. The app is designed to feel fast, clean, and easy to use. You can search for a stock, look at the price, review some basic information, and place a trade without feeling like you're inside a complicated brokerage platform. For someone just starting out, that simplicity can be helpful, but it can also be dangerous if it makes investing feel too much like a game. When buying and selling feels too easy, some people may start trading too often. That's where discipline matters. Robinhood offers commission-free trading for stocks and ETFs. It also offers fractional shares, which means you can start with a small amount of money. Robinhood also offers crypto, options, retirement accounts, and other features. One feature that gets attention is Robinhood's IRA match. The IRA match can sound attractive, but you need to read the details carefully. Features like matches, bonuses, and promotions often come with rules. There may be holding requirements, subscription requirements, account requirements, or other terms that make a difference. You should never choose an investing app just because of a promotion. A promotion is nice, but the app still needs to fit your long-term investing behavior. Robinhood may be best for someone who wants the simplest possible interface for buying stocks, ETFs, and fractional shares. It may also appeal to someone who wants access to crypto and active trading features in the same app. But Robinhood's not the app I would choose if the main goal is deep education, detailed research, or a traditional long-term brokerage experience. Robinhood's strength is ease of use. Its risk is that ease of use can encourage people to trade too much. So if you use Robinhood, the app should not be the plan. The plan should come first. The app should just help you carry out the plan. Next is Fidelity. Fidelity is different from some of the newer investing apps because it feels more like a full brokerage company than a trendy investing app. That can make Fidelity feel a little less exciting at first, but for serious long-term investing, that can actually be a good thing. Fidelity offers stocks, ETFs, mutual funds, retirement accounts, research tools, planning tools, fractional shares, and a lot more. For someone who wants to grow into a more complete investing platform, Fidelity is strong. It may not feel as flashy as Robinhood, it may not feel as simplified as Stash, but Fidelity has depth. One of Fidelity's biggest strengths is that it works well for long-term investors. If your goal is to open a Roth IRA, buy index funds, use ETFs, or build a long-term portfolio, Fidelity is one of the most serious options on the list. Fidelity also offers fractional share investing starting with small dollar amounts. That means you don't need a large amount of money to start. Fidelity also has a wide range of educational resources and research tools. That can help you move beyond just asking, what stock should I buy? Instead, you can start asking better questions. What is this fund? What is the expense ratio? What does this ETF hold? What account type should I use? How does this investment fit into my long-term plan? Fidelity may be best for someone who wants to take investing seriously from the start. It may be especially good for people focused on retirement accounts, index funds, ETFs, mutual funds, and long-term investing. The possible downside is that Fidelity may feel more intimidating at first. There's more tools, more choices, and more information. That can be good once you understand what you're doing, but if you're brand new, it may feel like more than you need to know on day one. But if someone asked me which app has the strongest long-term brokerage feel on the list, Fidelity would be near the top. Next is Stash. Stash is the app I use personally most of the time. What I like about Stash is it's built around beginner-friendly investing habits. Stash doesn't feel like it's mainly trying to turn you into a day trader. It feels more focused on helping people invest consistently and understanding basic ideas and build long-term habits. Stash offers individual investing, retirement investing, fractional shares, managed portfolios, education, budgeting tools, and stockback rewards. The stockback feature is interesting because it can give you stock rewards when you spend with a Stash card, depending on current terms. That doesn't mean you should spend your money to get the rewards. Rewards should never become an excuse to buy things you don't need. But as a feature, it's something that makes Stash different. Stash may appeal to someone who wants more guidance. Some apps basically say, here's the market, good luck. Stash feels more like it's trying to explain investing in a beginner-friendly way. It can help people think in terms of goals, habits, risk, and long-term investing. Stash also offers fractional shares, which helps you start with smaller amounts. Another thing people may like is the ability to choose your own stocks and ETFs or use a managed portfolio. That gives you two different paths. You can be more hands-on, or you can let your managed portfolio handle more of the investing decisions. But there is one very important thing to understand about Stash. Stash is not really the app I would describe as free. Stash has subscription pricing, and pricing can change over time. So before signing up, check the current monthly price and ask yourself if the features are worth the cost for your account size. Stash may be best for someone who wants guidance, simple explanations, fractional shares, and long-term investing habits. It may be especially appealing for someone who feels overwhelmed by traditional brokerages. It can make investing feel more approachable. The possible downside is the subscription cost. If someone has a very small account, a monthly subscription can matter more than they realize. For example, a few dollars per month may not sound like much, but if the account balance is small, that fee can be a large part compared to the amount invested. That doesn't automatically make Stash bad. It just means you should understand the cost. Stash is best for someone who values the guidance and habit-building features enough to justify the subscription. Next is Webull. Webull is probably the most trading-focused app on the list. It offers stocks, ETFs, options, advanced charting, market data, extended hours, and access through mobile, web, and desktop platforms. That can be more attractive for people who want more tools than Robinhood but still want an app-based experience. Webull may appeal to someone who's curious about charts, price movement, technical indicators, and active trading. But that's also where you need to be careful. More tools don't automatically mean better investing. A person can easily confuse activity with progress. Looking at charts all day doesn't mean you're building wealth. Buying and selling constantly doesn't mean you're investing wisely. Webull offers commission-free trading for stocks, ETFs, and options, though certain regulatory exchange and options-related fees can still apply. Webull also offers extended hours trading. That can sound exciting, but you should understand that extended hours trading can come with different risks. Prices can move quickly, trading volume can be lower, spreads can be wider. Just because you trade before or after market hours doesn't mean you should. Webull also offers IRAs, which makes it more than just a short-term trading app. But the overall feel of Webull is still more advanced and trading focused than something like Stash. Webull may be for someone who wants to learn more about active trading tools. It may also be a good fit for someone who wants charts, indicators, extended hours, and more market data. But I wouldn't call Webull the simplest app for a true beginner. It may be too much if all you want to do is buy a basic ETF every month and leave it alone. Webull is powerful, but you should respect that. The more features an app gives you, the more disciplined you need to be. For someone still learning the basics, Webull may be better for you after you understand the basics. Now let's compare these apps in a simple way. If you want an all-in-one money app with investing, banking-style features, automated investing, and a cleaner beginner experience, SoFi may be worth looking at. If you want the simplest interface for buying stocks, ETFs, and fractional shares, Robinhood may be appealing. If you want a serious long-term brokerage for retirement accounts, index funds, ETFs, mutual funds, and deeper research, Fidelity may be the strongest long-term option. If you want guidance, education, fractional shares, automated investing, and habit-building features, Stash may be a good fit. That's what I use. If you want more advanced trading tools, charts, extended hours, and a more active trader feel, Webull may be a better fit. None of these apps is perfect for everyone. The best app depends on what you're trying to do. One of the biggest mistakes new investors make is choosing an app before choosing a strategy. Before you choose an investing app, ask yourself a few questions. Am I investing for retirement? Am I investing in a taxable brokerage account? Do I want to buy index funds and ETFs? Do I want automatic investing? Do I want to pick individual stocks? Do I want crypto? Do I want options? Do I actually understand the risks? Those questions matter more than the app logo. A good app can't fix a bad plan, but a good app can make a good plan easier to follow. You also need to understand that commission-free doesn't always mean no cost at all. An app may have no commission for stock and ETF trades, but there can be other expenses. There may be subscription fees, there may be option contract fees, there may be regulatory fees, there may be ETF expense ratios, there may be account transfer fees, there may be crypto spreads and crypto-related fees, there may be advisory fees for managed portfolios. This is why you should always check the fee schedule before opening an account. The fee schedule is not exciting, but it matters. Fees are one of the few things investors can actually control. One of the most beginner-friendly features on modern investing apps is fractional shares. Fractional shares lets you invest by dollar amount instead of buying one full share. That means you can start with smaller amounts of money. For newer investors, this can be helpful because it removes the old barriers to investing. You don't need enough money to buy a full share of an expensive stock. You can invest a smaller amount and still participate. But fractional shares don't remove risk. If the investment drops, your fractional share will drop too. Fractional shares make investing more accessible, but they don't make investing automatically safe. People often focus on brokerage accounts, but retirement accounts matter too. If your goal is long-term investing, you should at least know the difference between a taxable brokerage account, a traditional IRA, and a Roth IRA. Apps like SoFi, Robinhood, Fidelity, Stash, and Webull may offer different types of retirement account features, but the account type matters more than the app. A Roth IRA is not the same as a regular brokerage account. A traditional IRA is not the same as a checking account. Retirement accounts have different rules, limits, tax treatment, and withdrawal restrictions. So before choosing an app just because it looks easy, understand what kind of account you're opening. Education is another big category. You don't just need a buy button, you need to actually understand what you're buying. Fidelity is strong if you want deeper research, long-term planning tools, and a more complete brokerage experience. Stash is strong if you want simple beginner education and guidance. SoFi is strong if you like clean financial tools and an all-in-one money experience. Robinhood is strong for simplicity, but you may need to do more learning outside of the app. Webull may be strong for charts and market tools, but those tools may be more useful after you understand the basics. The app should help you learn. It shouldn't just make it easier to click the buy button. Here's the way I would think about it as someone who's comparing these apps. If I wanted the most traditional long-term investing home, I would look closely at Fidelity. If I wanted the cleanest all-in-one financial app, I would look closely at SoFi. If I wanted the simplest stock buying experience, I would look closely at Robinhood. If I wanted guided beginner investing and habit building, I would look closely at Stash. If I wanted advanced charts and a more attractive trading platform, I would look closely at Webull. The answer depends on the person. A person who wants to buy index funds in a Roth IRA may need a different app than someone who wants to trade stocks actively. Someone who wants education may need a different app than someone who already understands the market. Someone who only has a small amount to start may need to pay extra attention to monthly fees. My overall take is this. Fidelity feels like the strongest long-term brokerage choice. SoFi feels like the strongest all-in-one financial app choice. Robinhood feels like the simplest trading app choice. Stash feels like the strongest guided beginner habit building choice. Webull feels like the strongest active trader tool choice. That doesn't mean one app is automatically better than the others. It means each app has a different personality. The mistake is trying to find the app that everyone says is best. The smarter move is finding the app that fits your actual goal. Before you choose an investing app, go through this simple checklist. Does the app offer the account type I need? Does it allow fractional shares? Does it have the investment I want? Does it charge a subscription fee? Does it offer retirement accounts? Does it help me understand what I'm buying? Does it encourage long-term investing or constant trading? Can I use the app without feeling confused? Do I understand the risk before I invest real money? If you can answer those questions, you're already thinking more clearly than many people who open up an account just because an app is popular. The right choice depends on what you actually want from the app. If you want long-term investing, don't choose an app just because it looks exciting. If you want simple investing, don't choose an app that overwhelms you with tools you don't understand. If you want retirement investing, pay attention to the account types. If you want to start small, look for fractional shares. If an app charges a monthly fee, make sure the value actually makes sense for the size of your account. The app is only the beginning. The real goal is to build a plan, understand what you're buying, control your risk, and stay consistent. If you found this video helpful, give it a like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.